Hi and welcome back to the Nordic Watch channel where we discuss watches and anything watch related. I'm Anders from Finland and today I have my second ever Orient watch review on the channel. This time of the blue dialed version of the Orient Defender 2, which is an entry-level automatic field watch by Orient. First time ever a watch got sent in to the channel for review, so that's pretty exciting for me. Anyways, that's it for the chit chat, let's get to the review. Alright, here we have the watch for today. First of all, I'm wearing my newest acquisition, the Sinn 556A. Probably a keeper for my collection, the second one that is a pretty clear keeper for me. I bought this for myself as a graduation present after now finally finding one after searching for it ever since I graduated as a commercial pilot and got my Airbus type rating. But anyway, here's the watch for today. And just a quick note here before I start. I was given this watch for review by a representative for Orient, so keep that in mind. I want to be completely transparent. But that being said, this review will not be any different from my earlier reviews. So I'm going to speak my mind about what I like and what I don't like. But if you're familiar with my videos, you know I'm a pretty positive guy when it comes to watches. I generally like them, especially from these kind of in-house brands, but I will let you know if there's something I don't like. Alright, let's get into the watch box, and this is your pretty basic Orient box with a metal plate on the top and this kind of synthetic leather case. White pillow inside, and there is your Orient Defender 2, as these are referred to as. Let's read the reference number out loud so we can agree about how uncatchy it is, but this one is the RAAK0401L10B. So yeah, we won't be using that reference after that, so we'll refer to this as the Orient Defender 2. And that Defender 2 comes from this being the second generation Orient Defender, and this one comes with an upgraded movement and reconfiguration of the dial. I think they moved the crown a little bit and they changed the hands also, but pretty much the same otherwise. It's still a field watch with a kind of a funky look on the dial. It's not your average field watch, and that makes it pretty interesting. These come in 5 different versions. I happen to have the one with a brushed case to match the brushed bracelet and the blue dial. Then there's another one with a bracelet that has a green dial. And then there are 3 different alternatives to that. And 2 of them have bead blasted cases and 1 of them has an IP coated black case. And the colors for the dial are kind of a beige desert or then a black dial. These go for around $230 to $250. Brand new, but I think even brand new, I bet you can get these at sometimes for a little discount from an AD and get to close to $200 or euros. And I don't know what these go for when they're being sold secondhand, because I haven't really seen any for sale yet. So as on previous videos, later on in the review, I'll show you this watch on a variety of straps, just to let you know how it looks off the wrist and on the wrist on different straps, because I think that's really useful. So stay tuned for that in the end. And these are the straps that I found that are 22 millimeters, so this is what you'll get today. Lots of gray and black colors, but I think those will go well with the blue dial, since blue doesn't accompany every kind of strap as well as, let's say, black or white. Let's get the dimensions out of the way so you get an understanding of what kind of a size this watch is. So the case is 42.5 millimeters, approximately 42.5. It's 12 millimeters thick to that flat mineral crystal. It has a 50 millimeter lug to lug and a 22 millimeter lug width. So it's a pretty substantial watch. And if you compare it to other watches in my collection, you know this is a little bit large for my taste. And here's just a side by side to my Sinn 556, so you can see that it's clearly a more substantial watch than this. It does, however, have a pretty nicely curved case with nice finishing, completely brushed as far as I can see. It has a signed screwed-on crown, and that gives it 100 meters of water resistance, so this is a legit field watch in my opinion. I love that it has 100 meters water resistance. Solid screwed-on case back with some basic information about the watch there. The bracelet is entirely brushed, kind of an oyster style bracelet with a female style end link, so that's nice. It makes the bracelet fall directly down when you put it on the wrist, so that makes it sit a little bit slimmer. Solid links on the bracelet with push pins, as you can see there with the arrow. It's a pretty slim bracelet, and it has a little bit of taper down to this Orient signed clasp, which is your basic pressed clasp with a basic pusher. Only one micro adjustment, which is a little bit disappointing. We'll see when I size it up if I can get a good fit with it or not. However, I think, oh yeah, it has hollow end links. That being said, I think this watch will wear nicely on NATO straps, leather straps and stuff like that. Let's have a closer look at the dial and the configuration of this watch. Over there at the 5 o'clock you get a 24-hour subdial, so you can tell what time of the day it is. Is it AM or PM? But that is slaved to the main time, so you cannot use that as a GMT subdial. Then over at the 10 o'clock you have the day of the week subdial, which is an interesting way of showing the day of the week instead of a classic day date window. And then we have the date window there at the 3 o'clock, and that's a pretty basic way of telling the date. Nicely sized that date window though to make it match the 9 o'clock index, so from a distance you can almost tell that it's a date window, so nicely done by Orient. And then we have the Orient logo at the 1 to 2 o'clock position, which is a different place to put your logo. But given the configuration of this dial, I think that works just fine. As for watches that don't have bezels like dive watches, they always look a bit large, but I think the 60-minute chapter ring you have on the inside of this mineral crystal, I think that kind of works like a bezel on this watch and might make it look a little bit smaller on the wrist. We'll see. But anyways, you have that 60-minute chapter ring on the inside, which is nicely curved upwards. It gives this dial a bit of a deeper look, so that's nice. And the texture on the dial is this kind of a grainy blue, and yeah, that's pretty different from dials that I had so far. And the hour indices are applied, and it looks like they have a lot of lume on them, so I bet this will have a killer lume shot. Really like those half skeletonized hands and that little red tip on the seconds hand, also on the 24-hour subdial. Some nice details on this dial. Also the counterbalances or the back ends of these hands are painted black, and I think that looks really nice when it hits the light. And there's the lume shot of this Orient, and as I said in my previous video, the review of the Invicta Pro Diver, I think Orient and Seiko are just great at giving a watch fantastic lume at the entry-level price range. I'm not sure what luminescent material Orient uses, but I think it looks a lot like Lume Bright that Seiko uses. Really easy to read in the dark. You have that double index at the 12 o'clock, and you also have that Lume pip on the seconds hand, so really like the Lume on this watch. Can't see the movement due to the solid case back, and I'm pretty new to Orient in-house movements, but this watch has Orient in-house F6B22 movement to my understanding. And this movement comes with 21,600 beats per hour. It has 40 hours power reserve approximately, and it runs at about -15 to +25 seconds per day. So a pretty nice, I bet, reliable workhorse movement. And as far as I know, it seems to be pretty quiet, and it seems to have bidirectional winding. So it's quiet on the wrist and efficient. The upgrade with this movement to the previous generation is hand winding and hacking, which is always nice. Pretty good feel when you wind it, although I must say that the crown is a little bit wonky and wobbly. But that's something that can be expected at this price point. Without sizing it up, it comes in at 144 grams. We'll see what it weighs when I've removed the links. And 3 links removed, it's now 133 grams. Let's put it on the wrist. And there it is on my 6.5-inch wrist. I'd say due to the chapter ring and the female end link on the bracelet, I think I can still pull this off with a 6.5-inch wrist, or actually pretty easily. This is with a t-shirt, not even a long sleeve shirt. Long sleeve shirt makes it even easier to wear. So let's try that. And there we go. Now nobody has to know how scrawny my wrist is, and I think that works just fine. Just to be clear, I don't think you need to wear a shirt like this. It's just that I don't usually wear watches that are that large, so I think with long sleeves you can get away with a lot bigger watches than you would get away with otherwise. At least for me, I'm not a big fan of big watches, and this is still within my range, I'd say. It's on the border, but a 50mm lug-to-lug is doable for me. And I actually pretty much like how this thing wears. I always like it when a bracelet has female end links, so it falls directly down from the lugs. The clasp on this thing is also pretty small, which I also like. I don't like it when watches have a huge clasp. I would, however, like to have additional micro adjustment hole on this bracelet, because it would be a little bit better if I could have it a little bit tighter, but not remove a whole link. So there's always some small things that you could find and improve on entry-level watches like this. For reference, let's just look at a few watches with a similar case size or diameter as the Defender, just so you can get a better feel for the size. Everybody knows pretty much the size of the SKX, so here's them side by side, pretty much at the same height. So yeah, it definitely looks larger than the SKX due to not having a bezel. And then here we have the Citizen Nighthawk, also a similar size. I think the Nighthawk has a shorter lug-to-lug distance, but these look pretty much the same. And I think here that chapter ring on the Orient comes in and makes the dial look a little smaller than on the Nighthawk. All right, let's see how this Orient looks on a variety of straps. I found this Barton Elite Silicone strap in light gray and black, in addition to the straps that I showed you in the beginning. So let's start out with this. And I think light gray is a good fit for this blue dial. And there it is on the Barton Elite Silicone strap. I think it looks smaller on a strap than it does on a bracelet, and that's a really nice fit for a 6.5-inch wrist. I'm actually surprised by how well this watch wears on a smaller wrist. All right, next up, a black Hirsch Liberty, really substantial leather strap. Look at how thick that strap is. Still really soft though, with light stitching. Black leather, really nice fit with the blue, I think. And along with the size of the watch, this is a really robust combination. Damn, this makes this watch look really a lot like a pilot's watch. I get some kind of Breitling feelings from this. I don't know if that sounds ridiculous, but that actually looks really nice. I'm surprised. I thought that this would totally overpower my wrist. A little bit long, this strap for me, but I think that looks fantastic. Really a big surprise for me. All right, gray Zulu strap from, I think this is from Zulu Diver or cheapest NATO straps, I'm not sure. Anyways, gray always I think looks great on any color dial watch, and this is no exception. Not a big fan of Zulu straps, I just happen to have one lying around, but the color goes nicely. Let's see how it looks on the wrist. Zulu straps are really stiff, at least. I haven't broken this one in yet because I didn't like it. They're really stiff, but I think if I would wear this and break it in, it would actually look pretty nice on this watch. But Zulu straps are not really for me, but in case any of you wanted to know what it looks like, here you go. All right, next up we have a gray, I think this is a paratrooper strap, or what do you call it, from cheapest NATO straps, and this is the kind of cheap version with just, I had to cut off the end and burn it myself to make it fit right because it was so long. But yeah, I think this will fit really slim on the wrist due to the elastic material. Let's see. Yeah, sits really nicely, and I like the color of this strap together with this watch. Works really nicely with those hour indices and hands. So I can warmly recommend having it on a paratrooper strap. Don't mind the lugs. I ruined this strap when I modified it for my Casio, but this is what it would look like if it were whole. But yeah, kind of an olive green NATO strap. I think that'll work. Okay, let's pretend that wouldn't be broken there at the lugs. I think this color could work pretty nicely given the right outfit. That blue is so dark that it doesn't really disturb with the color of the straps that much, and I think even this olive green will work with a blue dial. And overall this watch sits smaller than I would have thought, so that's a positive surprise. Okay, next up, a gray seatbelt NATO strap with brushed hardware, and this looks really great, at least off the wrist. Let's look at it on the wrist. I think that looks great. Seatbelt NATOs make the watch sit a little bit taller than regular NATOs, and even though I think the material looks nicer, nowadays I prefer normal NATOs to these because they don't make the watch sit as high. Okay, next up, a little bit of color. This is kind of a burgundy or wine red NATO strap, also a seatbelt style, and yeah, too bad it's polished, the hardware, so it doesn't really match the case, but I think that matches the details on the dial pretty nicely. And there it is on the wrist. That's an interesting color. Could probably pull it off depending on what you wear, and I think it complements the details on the dial pretty nicely, even though it's not exactly the same red. But yeah, there you go. Next up, gray perlon strap. Not fantastic quality, but looks alright even though it feels pretty bad. But yeah, this will probably work good also. And on the wrist. Perlon straps are really thin, so this makes the watch sit a little bit smaller than the other straps. And if you have a small wrist like I do, that's that's always a pretty good thing. So I can recommend a good quality perlon strap for this watch, even though it's not really in the field or military style, but I think it looks good. Next up, the good old Bond style black and gray NATO strap. There are very few watches that don't work with this color scheme, I think. Maybe not the best one for this watch, and especially since I have the black hardware on this one, but still works. And there it is on the wrist. I really love this NATO strap from Zulu Diver. Most comfy, or the comfiest NATO strap I ever had, and it sits pretty slim. Okay, I'm cutting off circulation. I see the one color scheme that pretty much everybody has in their closet if they have a NATO strap. Just a friendly reminder, if it feels too big, just put a shirt on with sleeves. And last but not least, we have the full-on stealth mode seatbelt NATO strap. So black NATO strap with black hardware. Let's put it on the wrist. Black strap with everything black. Well, that can't really contradict a dial on any watch. So of course it works just fine. All right, that's it for this plethora of different straps. I hope that helps. And let's go back to wrap this video up. To sum it all up, I think this field watch by Orient is absolutely a candidate to consider if you're looking for a field watch. You maybe have a 6.5-inch wrist or above, or you just have a preference for larger watches. I think it's great value for money because you get hacking, hand winding, in-house movement. You get 100 meters water resistance, great lume, good functionability, and you get a nice metal bracelet. So you can't argue with the value proposition there. Then it's only a matter if it fits your preference or not. But from my experience with this watch, I can assure you that it's great bang per buck, and it's just a matter of if you like it or not. The look, I mean. That's pretty much all I had in mind for this video. Hope you found it useful. If you have any questions about the watch or watches in general, hit me up in the comment section below or on Instagram, DM me or something. Yeah, that's it for this video. Like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, the works, and stay tuned for new content. See you in the next video. Bye bye.